All right. Good morning, Tom.
All right. Good morning, Devin, and good morning, everyone out there. I'm excited today to start our fourth podcast of Rise and Elevate. And we have a fantastic guest that's been through the journey in real estate and the mortgage world and education and training. And I'm so excited to hear his story and share it with all of you. As we know, Rise and Elevate talks about successes and failures, but we don't like to look at the failures as heavy or down. We look at them as opportunities to learn and to grow. So today I'd like to start with a quote from Dale Carnegie, and I'm going to read it with you guys now. Develop success from failures. Discouragement and failure are two of the surest stepping stones to success. And as we all know, Dale Carnegie has some fantastic lessons and has led a life that is designed to help others. And what we want to do is we want to share the messages that can help others grow along the journey. So, Devin, I would love for you, as my co-host, to introduce our guest and do your Devinizing of his bio.
Thank you, Tom. So, today we are excited to welcome a distinguished leader in the real estate and mortgage industry. Over his nearly 40-year career, he has built a platform with over 100,000 real estate agents, brokers, and team leaders through Worx Partner, formerly known as Associate Worx. He has served in roles from franchisor to, top listing agent, setting industry standards along the way. Now, the executive director of Hero Benefits Network, he provides down payment assistance and relocation grants to our nation's heroes on their path to home ownership. We are absolutely thrilled to hear his insights on leadership, service, and the future of real estate. Russ Fitzpatrick, welcome to Rise and Elevate.
All right, Russ, we can't hear you. A little technical difficulty.
We'll get there.
All right.
We just had you.
Yeah,
Well,
we.
while we're waiting for Russ's technical issues to resolve, Tom, while we're
Yes.
waiting for Russ, how about you explain how you yourself know Russ Fitzpatrick?
So, as a originator and loan officer with Annie Mac, I had an opportunity to meet Russ and Kerry and Devin, my co-host, through the Annie Mac Worx platform, and we've used it as a support and training tool to help engage with realtors. I think did we just hear him come on? Is that you, Russ? Are you with us now? Uh-oh, now I think he just disconnected everything. So while we're waiting for Russ to come back here, Russ has helped me to align with realtors and provide support and education for realtors across my network, right? So I have probably somewhere around 750 realtors that I engage with, and we need all of them to be a part of us. Hey, there we can see Russ, and he's so happy to join us.
Hey there, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
There he is. Russ, no worries. Thank you for joining us. And now that we have Russ on audio as well, Devin did a wonderful intro for you. And I was sharing a little bit about how we met through Annie Mac Worx. I'm really excited for you to share a little bit of your story because, Russ, I think you've built and grown such a fabulous network of education and support. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how your journey through some of the things that didn't go as planned, and we call them failures, helped to learn and grow and carve the path to where you are today.
Well, I'm very excited to be invited on to speak with you, Tom. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the last several years that we've been doing business together. And obviously, Devin has been the membership director for Annie Mac Worx for half a decade, I guess now. And we're just thrilled to have an opportunity to share with you. And I want to make a comment, just so you know, the audio and video, the audio back and forth was picked up by my wife's AirPods out in the other room.
No.
She's sitting there on the AirPod with you guys, and I have no way to communicate. So it was just one of those fluky things of nature, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Technology is a wonderful thing, especially when it works, right?
Amen.
Yes. So Russ, one of the things that we kind of talk about is a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's one of the, kind of the mottos here, right? So I'd love to hear about some of the things that didn't go the way you had hoped that led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I think real estate and the mortgage industry are cyclical, right? I mean, one of the great challenges that we face is that we can be riding high on Sunday and then flat on our face on Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's one of those industries that really, have an opportunity to test your conviction.
Sure.
I've got, hundreds and hundreds of real estate friends, and some of their Sweet 16 parties look like cotillions with big things going on when that one turns 16, but when that other one turns 16, they're stressed a little bit and they don't have that same $50,000 mindset for that big party. But I definitely have weathered the ups and downs of residential real estate for 40 years. I think your sentiment about when things don't go your way. I mean, the greatest one that I had is I was sitting on, a brokerage with 1,300 realtors. Our mortgage division was probably, $3.5, $4 million a month. Our title company was doing, 40 closings a month. Our real estate broker was just closing 300 deals a month. And then somebody turned the faucet off in 2008. I don't think that anyone could have been prepared for that. I think one time in front of my entire constituency of realtors, I said, even if I had saved every single penny that we made from 2005, 6, 7, by 2008, we would have been out of money anyway. There's no way that you could sustain, $100,000 a month in overhead in the headwinds of a 2008 crisis, right? So I think that those surprises served me so well later in life, to have weathered a 2006, 7, 8 crisis and then be exposed to, a 3% mortgage market that turns into a 7% mortgage market. Like, nobody really comprehends what that feels like on the ground. You know what I mean? It just changes everything about your daily activity. And I think that when you get hit with cyclical economic situations or compliance guidelines or program changes, it's just like, I hate to put it in the same category. It's like getting the big C cancer. It's like, you didn't plan on that.
Right.
And I think that learning how to weather difficult operating environments has been the great lesson of adversity. I mean, it's how do you behave differently when the proverbial shit is hitting the fan, right, Tom? There's a way to do it.
And that speaks for resiliency, right? That's one of the things that, as a football fan and a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, right? We've had some highs and lows with them recently, and they talk about the resiliency, right? The ability to continue to battle and fight. And a word that I love is that term called grit, right? How do you develop that grit? If somebody's on a path that's always easy, if they're given the golden spoon, if they have opportunities constantly in front of them, they never develop that grit because they don't face those challenges, right? And certainly you've rebounded and your successes are abundant throughout Annie Mac, but also the real estate network. I'd love for you to talk about how many realtors you have under your real estate platform now that you support and educate, because it helps me to put, those numbers in perspective from the change that you went from leading a hugely successful real estate practice to now leading a hugely successful support system for both mortgage and realtors.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would like to bring up is a conversation I just had with a 29-year-old kid. I don't want to call 29-year-olds kids, Devin, but I basically asked him straight up. I rattled off 5 of his best friends' names and I said, in your guess, how many of them have written goals? And he said, I don't think any of them do. And I said, that's because life's too easy. If life's too easy and you're just perpetually pipping out 10 grand a month, or if you're perpetually just being hired for great jobs and you could buy beautiful cars and houses, and what do you need written goals for? I mean, it's just a matter of fact, you're going to be wealthy. But for those of us like me, my dad was a cop. My mom didn't work. So we were gross household income under $50,000 a year, right? Mm-hmm. Gross. We were using used jeans, used shoes, haircuts on the kitchen table with my mom with the trizzers. We ate stroganoff out of a box. That's how I grew up. So when I got a taste of money, 16, 18, 19 years old, and I started seeing kids driving really nice cars and living in nice houses, and I was like a cop's kid, written goals were religious to me. I mean it. Like religious. Sure. Like I studied Think and Grow Rich like a Bible. And when I met Devin, the very first time, I think you're about 22, 23 years old, Devin. I met you before when you were a kid, but I'm so happy that you have that.
Yes.
Because my passion in life is almost become muted. like when you talk to a kid right now, or you talk to an emerging professional about written goals, they're like, why? What's the big deal? I'm like, oh my God. Like my life has been profoundly affected by written goals. Like, even right this minute in my industry, and Devin knows this firsthand, like I'm forecasting what 2035 is going to feel like, not what 2025 is going to feel like. And those 3 and 5 and 10 year written goals are what give you that grit and that punch and that fight when somebody doubts you and somebody from the top says, this is no good, or you're no good, or this isn't good. Your rates are this, or your process, like anything they're criticizing about you as a human or as a business owner or as a business person or as an originator, it becomes like you don't have enough callous. You don't have enough conviction. Right. If your conviction about what you're doing isn't stronger than the argument of your constituency or your audience, you're dead in the water. And I think that begins and ends with written goals for me. It's what am I trying to accomplish? By when, and then who can I enroll in that vision? And I think as you experience real estate, mortgage, title, when you experience business endeavor in general, you meet the people, they've all got written goals. You meet the people, they've all got business plans. You meet the people, they've all got objection handling techniques. They've all got value propositions. It's just like the way that they do things is more formal and serious and gritty than the way that the average people do things, and I've made my living, and Tom, you probably know this. I made my living talking to people who aren't making money.
Right.
So that I could learn from the people who are making money and discover the differences. That is essentially my life work. I mean, I talk to the guys that are doing, 15 million a month in mortgages in today's operating environment. And then I tell the people who are doing $1 million a month what they're doing. It's not a bad way to make a living. And I think one of the secrets to any successful story I've heard is, what are you trying to accomplish by when? So a written goal's got to have some components to it. It's got to have a sense of timing, and it's got a sense of gravity in your life. The worst thing Devin could have done with her written goals is stick them in a drawer and never think of them about it again. But when you focus on your goals and you talk to other people about your goals and you have a community of people around you that are supporting your goals, that's when life gets fun, right, Tom? And I want to do that more with you because I admire so much what you're doing in your markets, bud.
Yeah. And you know what? I love the fact about writing it down, right? So a goal is just a thought. If you don't write it down, if you don't verbalize it, if you don't share it, that's how it becomes real, right? And that's one of the things that creates those opportunities for success. Now, you might not achieve your goal right away, but if you keep working to it, if you have the drive and determination, and Devin shared with me that when you interview people, you make them bring their goals and write them down so that they can share them with you. And Devin showed me that tablet that she wrote that down on, and it meant a lot to her. And she also shared with me how there was a time where you guys got that special red Jeep for her because that was part of her journey and part of her goals, right? And she's sharing that with us, and we know that that's possible, right? Devin and I had a conversation, and we talked about doing a podcast. And we said, oh yeah, maybe we'll do a podcast together. And then I said, well, no, Devin, I said, I want to start this in June. And she's like, oh my God, Tom, it's May. How are we going to do this? And so we wrote it down. We committed to one another. And Devin was like, Tom, we'll record it first. And then we can. And I said, well, Devin, I said, how about we just go live with it? And she's like, oh my God, what if? And what? I'm like, let's just do it. And she's like, you know what? It was an aha moment for me, because I now had someone that was holding me accountable to this goal. Absolutely. Of doing a podcast and sharing, right? Devin and I held her accountable. And Russ, thank you for sharing Devin with me, because she's dynamic, she's engaging, and certainly a great smile helps when you have a mug like this to work, right? So I appreciate you sharing Devin with us. And, you know, through our lives and through what we've gone through, the mortgage market has gone up and down. And I think right now we're poised for another takeoff in the refinance boom and people coming back out of the woodwork for buying homes or refinancing. The Fed certainly helped us with having a cut. Everybody thinks interest rates are just going to drop 50 basis points because the Fed dropped it. And we know there's a correlation, but not a direct connection. So that's something that's helping us to set it up. And because of this, Russ, I just brought my son in, and he's now helping me and I'm helping to create and shape him. So one of the takeaways from today in your conversation with me just now is I'm going to have him write down his goals, and I'm going to make it short term, and I'm going to have him do an intermediate and a long-term goal so that we can look at that, revise that, and help to craft him into the next generation of mortgage professionals. So I love that. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I wanted to talk about was a little bit of a personal journey that you went through during COVID, right? You love to eat, and you made some significant changes and successes because of what you went through. You don't have to talk about numbers, but share about what you went through and how it changed who you are now today.
Thank you for asking. It's been a journey. I'll be straight with you. 2019, we're making $1 million a year. We're having a great time, and, you know, high-fiving and kissing babies, you know. And then right. in 2020, when COVID first came on, I was petrified. I had PTSD from the last crash. You know, right. I went into like, oh my God mode, like this shit's going to hit the fan, excuse my French. But what happened was the exact opposite, right? The economy absolutely hockey stick change, like during 2021 and part of 22, we were all like feasting. And I was still, I wanted to say, suffering from PTSD from the first crash. Like I was right. literally walking around in 20 and 21 waiting for the shoe to drop, you know, like I was scared to death. Sure. And I kind of felt, I've always been that guy that feels the ripples in the pond, like before they're there. Like I'm 7 to 10 months a year out usually in my mood. Right. Right. But as my mood was going, I made a decision to sell everything in Florida. I mean, millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff in Florida, and move to the Smoky Mountain National Park, and where things were cheap. You know, right. You were in the woods and you were surrounded by bears and deer, and I thought it would be like the peaceful serenity life that I had always dreamt of. And I think Devin could attest to the isolation. I mean, she came up to visit us on a couple of occasions, and yes. And the mountains are gorgeous, but there's no community. There's no network where I'm at now. And I literally fell into a trap of cooking out every night at 5:30, 6:30, you know, opening a bottle of wine at 4:00, you know, cheese platters, and you name it, buddy. I mean, we were making money hand over fist. Our expenses were low, so we had a cleaning lady 5 days a week. We had a private chef a lot of times. Like, we were living. And then right. I gained like 60 pounds. Right. And I was sitting above 300. I had to talk with my doctor about triglycerides and, you know, cholesterol and LDL and my, you know, uric acid and my liver. And she was like, dude, you're not going in the right direction. So I became a vegan on January 15th, 2024. I went to my first AA meeting on January 15th of 2024 because I figured I could use a little direction from some people that have weathered that.
Right.
I put a whole new list of written goals together that had nothing to do with my career.
Right.
You know, literally things that I needed to feel in my life. And that led me to retire. That led me to call Annie Mac Home Mortgage and say, look, I'm not going to be able to be running at the pace I had been running at a few years ago. I need to change things. And I did. And that allowed me to pour my heart into a nonprofit called HeroBenefitsNetwork.org. And that sparked a whole new set of goals. That sparked a whole new set of relationships. It sparked a whole new community. And I think depression starts with isolation.
Sure.
You know, when you're isolated, I talked to a veteran who suffers from severe complex PTSD and depression and anxiety, and he's medicated those ailments with alcohol and drugs. And what I found out from him that he's been taught over his journey in PTSD is that community is the only known cure.
Sure.
That wouldn't have dawned on me. You know what I mean? The doctors are throwing out pills, AA screaming about the 12 steps, you know, all these different solutions for his PTSD, his complex PTSD and depression. I learned it's my relationship with Devin that makes me a better person, and your relationship to your son. Sure. When you can invest in your son's goals and be a part of his service and be a part of his journey and support him, you become more whole. So I think the first lesson of my journey through COVID was isolation.
Right.
It was a terrible decision, and it kept me from the kindness, the nurturing, the support, the community you get from a church or from a group of coworkers in that water cooler talk. We lost a lot of that for a few years. Right. And that's why I'm really proud of your podcast, Tom and Devin. And I hope that my perspective is value. I'm going to tell you something that I bought into. Gratitude is the foundation of mental health. When you lack gratitude, your mind gets messed up. So you have this sense of entitlement versus a sense of gratitude, right? So my boss is a jerk, or, you know, they're not doing this for me, or they're not as good as me, and why is that guy doing so much better than me? That sense of entitlement is the opposite of gratitude, right? And I think that when you suffer from entitlement or you lack gratitude, you start to not show up right. Then when you have a bad attitude, if an attitude is the foundation of all relationships, right? My attitude when I speak to Devin, if it's negative, condescending, angry, criticizing, or just my general philosophy has a negative attitude, you know, gratitude and attitude, they build on each other. And then you can work on performance. You know, if Devin had amazing performance in everything she did, but terrible gratitude and terrible attitude, she wouldn't be working here. You know, she could be you could produce 20 million a month in mortgages, Tom. And if you weren't someone who fit from a gratitude and attitude standpoint, we'd have to get rid of you. You know, there's no two ways about it. So I think emerging people or people who are here and want to be here, you know, one of the things that they have to focus on is first written goals. What is it that represents here? What does that mean? The more specific you can be on what that looks like, the more you can define it, right? And then if you don't have gratitude, attitude, and performance, you're not going to get to those goals. So closing the gap between where you are now and where you want to be has been my life's work. I mean, whether you're a realtor, a key person employee like Devin, your goals are the center point of why we work together. I feel that way. Like if I'm not helping you, adding value to your mission in life, you shouldn't work for me, in my opinion. I don't want an employee that's just checking in, punching a clock, and walking away every day. I need somebody who's got sort of a bigger, longer perspective. And Tom, sorry to babble, but that's where the grit comes from.
No, I love that. I love that, Russ, because the gratitude is something that, you know, through my journey, when you're able to be present, when you're able to think about what you've accomplished or where you're at or where you want to go, if you're grateful for the things that you have. And I use the analogy of, you know, the bowling ball in your backpack. If you have a bowling ball in your backpack, it's a lot of weight to carry around, right? And if you carry around your past regrets or your failures or the things that didn't go the way you wanted, and you use that as your basis, it's going to be heavy and negative. But if you say, you know what, I get to choose to take that bowling ball out. I get to choose to be grateful for what I've gone through and learn from it and rise above it, thus the elevate. We want everybody to take that message, right? That gratitude leads to a better attitude, because you can't be angry and mad about what happened if you're grateful about what the value or the lesson that it gave you. And I love that, because I think gratitude is so powerful. The mind can't handle gratitude and that regret all at the same time. We can choose which way we want to focus. And I think that's important, Russ. I think that's a big message. And I appreciate that. Devin I'm so grateful that we've been able to do this. She takes the technology and makes it flow so nicely. And I appreciate that, Devin, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do this. But we continue to try and expand. We've shared messages of realtors. Now we've shared messages of broker owners, and your message of going from the real estate market to the training market. Russ, Devin had mentioned to me, how big is the network that you guys have that you support right now on the real estate side?
Yeah, I'm really proud. We have almost 90,000 realtors, individual real estate agents inside of our Worx partner platform.
Right.
For 13 years, that product was exclusive to Annie Mac Home Mortgage, and Tom and I and Jay and I did a lot of things together. Tomorrow, Jay and I are launching a new brokerage relationship. Jay Leibowitz and the community mortgage team is launching a new brokerage relationship, and they're using Worx to enunciate the camaraderie between the team. And I'm thrilled with that. What we're doing now is we're offering Worx partner to banks in other states and in different areas of the country to augment, our influence on the industry. But where our work is really right now is in the Hero Benefits Network nonprofit world. But the 80,000 members, about 4,000 broker owners. Tomorrow will be 4,001, I guess.
Right.
We have when the broker partners see what you guys do with Worx, the brokers are more thrilled than the MLOs. I mean, the MLOs don't have any clue why it's valuable to realtors. They just don't. I haven't done a good job over 14 years explaining it to MLOs. Like they just don't get it. But the realtors, like when you see a $20 million realtor, $30 million realtor, $15 million realtor, $10 million realtor go, holy shit, I can use the absentee owner program to take more listings. Hey, I can use the relocation grants to take more listings. I don't think mortgage bankers know how desperate realtors are for listing inventory.
Sure.
And I don't think mortgage bankers know what it takes to take a listing. Like they don't know that you have to prospect by owners, expireds, absentee owners, farm. They don't realize that the inventory crisis is caused by realtor inactivity.
Right.
The realtors are not prospecting listings. They're only taking buyer leads. So, and I talked to a realtor from Coldwell Banker last night. She's a $40 million producer. This lady has a team. She's a monster. She makes over $1 million a year. And I asked her about the NAR settlement. Right? I asked her, how gritty is it out there with the NAR settlement and all these changes? She goes, ain't not even a thing. If you take listings, you don't have to worry about it. So like her mindset is I take listings, so I don't have to worry about the NAR settlement. Other people are like 5 buyer side deals a year, and they're like crying because they're afraid of their livelihood being challenged by this new NAR settlement. I could tell you that an operating environment change like the one that's happening right now is absolutely beneficial to the top dogs.
Sure.
It's easier for us. I'm sorry to put myself in that group. I mean, elite producers, only 5% of realtors are elite, right? 5%.
Right.
The 95% could barely walk and chew gum at the same time. I hate to say that to realtors on the phone, but that's the truth. Like the 95th percentile of realtors don't even make 50 grand a year. And 50% of that group don't even sell one house a year. So you're dealing with a group of people that don't really understand their own profession. But at the top 5%, they go, all I got to do is take listings. So they say for sale by owner, expired, by owner, absentee owner, networking, business to business, Hero Benefits, relocation grants, whatever it takes to get me in front of listings. That's what I need to do in the face of adversity in the real estate industry. And I don't know if that's on topic, but that's
that's something that we can share and continue to share the message with realtors about how to get those listings, right? List to last is one of the tools that you guys have, right?
Yes.
Kevin, you're doing, I think next week, aren't we doing a big presentation for realtors and how to capture those listings, Russ?
Devin, this feels like we're on Fallon. It just
Doesn't
went
it?
from like, hey, we're just talking, and then it went to like what we're doing next week.
Boom.
Now, list to last is my baby. I was a listing agent. I mentioned to you a crisis that I went through in 2008. By the beginning of 2009, I had sold my brokerage.
Right.
Okay? I had sold my real estate brokerage at the end of 2008 because it was just dragging me and my whole family down in losses. I turned down $5.5 million for that brokerage in 2008. I sold it for $350,000 in 2009. Dumbass.
Right.
But I was able to smile and dial. I had a skill set that I had built from 1986 to 2000, and I could go out into that market in 2009 and go take listings. You know what I mean? To talk to a buy owner face to face, to talk to an absentee owner that owns a home here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, but lives in Canada. Those are the people that will be selling their houses in the next few years.
Right.
You know, the guy who owns 4 houses will sell 2 of them. You know, like you have to know who your audience is, who are going to be listing their houses. If I have a 3% mortgage from 2020 and my house is worth $600,000, I'm not selling it.
Sure.
There's no way. But if I have to move, you know, those are the people you got to find. That you just got to reload. You're trying to relocate for a job. Your family has to sell their home because of a divorce. You know, these are the people that I was trained by: Floyd Wickman, Mike Ferry, Tom Hopkins, you know, Walter Sanford, Craig Proctor. These are the trainers that were 2000, 2005 that were teaching agents how to list houses. And not a lot of your realtors are paying $3,000 a month for a coach like I did.
Russ, you think the market and the success for realtors is contingent upon them feeling confident in how to gain more listings to control the market, right?
I think the subcategory is how are we going to deal with buyer brokerage, but the focus category is how to take more listings. And I think even tomorrow, the launch with Jay, I think that the brokerage is meeting to talk about NAR and negotiating the NAR settlement and like how they want to behave for the next 6 months or year or 2. What I'm going there to do, and I hope Jay doesn't mind, is explain how the real estate industry works.
Sure.
Right.
The guy with the gold makes the rule. That's the golden rule of real estate. The guy with the gold makes the rule. So once I sign that listing agreement, you are an actual victim of my decision-making.
Right.
If I tell my seller to offer 2% in the MLS, he's going to offer 2% in the MLS 8 times out of 10. If I tell my seller to offer 3% in the MLS, he's probably going to offer 3%. I'm the listing agent. I'm explaining to him why he should do this.
Right.
But the fact that you can't put the commission in the MLS doesn't change anything. It's just where does that end up? Do we end up with a normal 3% co-op a year from now or 2 years from now? Do we end up with a normal 2% co-op? Do we end up with a normal 1%? Like, nobody can tell where that's going to end. But the only thing that everyone agrees on is the guy with the gold makes the rule. The listing agents drive not only the inventory, but also the commission structures.
Right.
So one more reason why I'm so passionate, number one, about written goals, gratitude, attitude, performance, you know, literally it's difficult to take listings.
Sure.
It's much more difficult to be a listing agent than it is to take a buyer out. Like the two don't even have anything to do with each other. So Tom, I don't know if this will resonate with you, but a buyer's agent doesn't face personal rejection. This is important. Like the mindset of a buyer's agent is they rejected the house. They rejected that house. They rejected that house. I wish I could find them a house. I wish I could find them a house. The attitude of a listing agent, they rejected me.
Right.
That stinks. You know,
sure.
It's like I was courting this seller. I showed the seller my wares. I told the seller what I was willing to do with them. I showed them my commission, and they didn't pick me. They listed with a Remax agent. They listed with a call agent. It hurts me, my feelings. Right. But when you're a buyer's agent, hi, you want to go see houses? 4-2? Yeah, let's take them out to see all the 4-2s. And they didn't buy any of them. It wasn't my fault. You know, It's not a personal reflection of your ability when a buyer doesn't buy a house. It's a personal reflection of your ability, your professionalism, your value, whether someone lists their house with you or not. Right. That's the problem with this industry, is that the 95th percentile of realtors will take their aunt's listing, their cousin's, brother's, sister's, friend's listing, their mother's best friend's list, but they will never take a listing from a stranger until they overcome that anxiety, that fear, that reprehensible anxiety that prohibits them from going out and talking to strangers. And
so Russ, you're gonna share some of these points on how to get and gain more listings. Tell us a little bit about when that is. Devin or Russ, you're doing that next week, right?
Yeah, Devin will share the link to List Blast. It's absolutely free.
Already done.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Annie Mac Home Mortgage, which is a fantastic support of us for 14 years. We love Annie Mac. And, you know, this story may help. When I sold my brokerage for far less than I had it sold for a year before, you know, I lost $5.5 million in that transaction. My wife and I were looking at the holiday season just a few, you know, months away. And I was like, the tree's going to be empty. There's not going to be anything for the kids. So I personally, as a broker owner making over $1 million a year, stopped being a broker owner and set a goal to take 10 listings a month. I said, if I could take 10 listings a month, my family will eat and I'll be able to make a living and do everything. So expired listings, buy owners, absentee owners, farming, all of the exact same things that I talked to that Caldwell Banker $40 million a year agent about last night. The things that she does daily in her life to make $40 million a year in sales, I was doing in 2009 to take listings. And I took 15 listings a month for 7 months.
Right.
And when you take 15 listings a month for 7 months, you wake up in the 8th month making money.
Right.
Lots of money, you know? So what you have is 15 signs a month going up. You have 15 families a month buying and selling houses. You have 15 families. Like it's the catapult to get you into the real estate business. And at the risk of being hated by all realtors, which I have been in the past, you know, running as a real estate agent without listings is sort of like running a shoe store without shoes. No one's coming into your store. Like,
right.
Devin's not going to go look for Louis Vuitton shoes at a store that has nothing on the shelves, right? So no one's going to come into your real estate agency if you don't have any inventory. There's no reason to walk into your shoe store if there's no shoes. I think that realtors sort of lost focus on listing agent activity because it was so easy to make $100 grand a year, popping 2-3 buyers a year. You know, it's not that hard. But now they need listing inventory.
So Russ, in closing, because you know we're coming up on time, from what you know I've learned, from what you know we've learned from this episode is realtors, written goals, number one, super important. Gratitude. You have to live with a gratitude, a grateful heart, grateful mind, grit, and last but certainly not least, and one of the important points is you need listings, right? Done.
Yes.
Mind blown.
You talk to any realtor in the country, their primary complaint is inventory, right?
Yeah.
But they're
lack of inventory. But we need to share with realtors how they can leverage the tools that Annie Mac Worx and the Worx platform and List to Last can help them. So we'll share this. We'll share the link, and you guys are going to do that next week.
Yes, Wednesday, October 2nd.
I have a gift for you, and Devin will get it to you if anybody calls you to ask, okay? I have a 2-sentence handwritten note that helped me take about 1,400 listings in the past 30 years.
Right.
It's 2 sentences, stamp, hand addressed, send it out. It goes to absentee owners that own a home in your neighborhood but live somewhere else. That 2-sentence handwritten note has been taught to 35, 40,000 realtors across the country, and we've gotten thank you notes and testimonials written and appreciative. And I had a meeting with one agent. You will not believe it. It's Dockside Realty. Look it up in Virginia. 460 transactions, uses almost the identical note that I use. Same mind, me and him. 40 listings a month in Virginia. Okay.
Wild.
This is a monster, but he only uses the same note system that I was taught. So this is stuff that realtors haven't been taught in the last few years, right? So I want to encourage you, Tom, if you have a realtor friend, give them the Tom Fox challenge. Say, send out 20 of these handwritten notes and see what happens. And I think what you'll find is they'll go, holy shit, Tom, I took a listing. And you're like, no duh.
Right.
It's not a smart act. It's 40 years of confidence on that one.
Well, I'm excited to see these 2 sentences. Devin and you are going to share it with me.
Yeah.
And next week you guys are going to share the message for List to Last. I wanted to just say thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your time, your message. And I love your energy, Russ. Every time we talk, I feel like I take things out. And the takeaway for me today is the handwritten goals and the handwritten messages that we send to our people and the people that we want to encourage. Write down your goals, share them, and have an accountability partner to help make sure you execute them.
Build a community around yourself that supports your goals. People who are negative, not interested in your goals, don't believe in your goals, get rid of them quick. And I'm going to do one quick commercial on the difference between Hero Benefits Network and Homes for Heroes, if I could.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I was a client of Homes for Heroes for many, many years, and many of my realtors were. We paid them a lot of money. And when I retired last year, I decided to invest the rest of my career in a nonprofit that I could really get behind and believe in. It's the only network that you can represent heroes free. You don't have to pay a fee like you do with Homes for Heroes. You can actually go out and be a Homes for Heroes realtor for no fee. And Homes for Heroes charges $2,700 a year per realtor. Right. Is I think the number, and I may be off by a few bucks on that. So we just said, let's get rid of that. You don't have to pay $2,700 to help a hero. In the nonprofit, realtor, title, and mortgage cumulatively give a reward to the hero, and it's a big reward. $5,000 for buy, $10,000 for sell. And what we've been able to do is make this unique. And there's only one other change that we did at Hero Benefits that we don't have at Homes for Heroes, and that is the exclusivity of territories. You can represent Hero Benefits Network nationwide for free. You can do transactions, 10 transactions a month, no fees. But if you want a zip code, if you want a county, or you want a state, those are fees that you pay for the exclusivity in those areas. That's the difference between Hero Benefits Network and Hero Home Sources, that we are a nonprofit, 501c3. We're not here to make money. I've never taken a penny out of it. We're here to support realtors towards that goal. And you only pay money for exclusive zip codes and or counties. And I think that's a very unique twist to the Hero direct marketing world that we're bringing to it. And I want to thank Devin for helping me promote the heck out of it over these last 6 months. We sold 65 zip codes in our first few months. We've got
congratulations.
Big mortgage companies and title companies and real estate brokerages. EXP is launching us nationally across all their networks, 80,000 realtors deep. I mean, we've made huge progress. I had a meeting with a player out in California that wants the entire southern part of California. I mean, the demand for this is greater than the supply, and we're just thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you for having me on. Sorry if I talk too much. That's been my claim to fame for 40 years.
No, that's all right. We tried to keep it to 28 minutes, but we haven't hit an hour yet, so that's great. So, Russ, thanks so much. Devin, as always, thank you for being my co-host and being a part of this. I look forward to seeing both of you at the AnnieMac Sales Summit next month.
Absolutely. We'll be there.
Excellent. All right. Thanks
everyone.
Again. And signing off for the 4th episode of Rise and Elevate with my co-host Devin Pinches. I'm Tom Fox, and Russ Fitzpatrick. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You're doing good work. Take it easy.